Now this may not look much like an MG, it's actually a 1971 Gilbern Invader, but it does use the many parts, suspension parts from an MGC. So I think I can justify explaining this as an MG explanation, if you like. Now this wheel bearing on this side is extremely noisy. Can you hear that rumbling? It's quite wearing actually when driving. So I'm going to change the wheel bearing, which I hope anyway should be quite straightforward. The first thing to do, you can tell it's an MGC because there's five bolts here, but MGB and MGC pretty much the same apart from that. Anyway, on to there we go. Now because I'd actually forgotten this until I got the wheel off. This has been modified, so I need to detach the caliper before I can get the disc off, before I can get the hub off. So I'll do the modified bits and then come back when I've got the leftover MG parts. This is a disc conversion, disc and caliper conversion, which I did quite a long time ago actually. Big discs, big vented discs. But anyway, this is not what this is about. But there is a video about my disc conversion, which I could link. Anyway, let's see if I can get, yeah I can. Right, that's the caliper off, and that is the disc off. Alright, so now we're left with the naked MG hub. So I have this dust cap here which I need to prise off. That's the next thing. Right, so I'm just going to use a flat bladed screwdriver to get the cap off, which is pretty straightforward because it's not been put back on all that long. And now we have the split pin which I need to get out. Split pin coming out, there we go. And that's actually not even tight. I think that shows that the bearing has kind of worn into itself, which is probably why it's loose or why it's gone noisy. But anyway, I need to get that off. Not sure what size that is. Right, it looks like it's 1 1/8", which for my socket is actually a 3/4 inch drive rather than the usual 1/2 inch, for which I need to use an adapter 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. It's quite a large socket. Anyway, let's put that off, which couldn't have been a lot easier really. There we go. So that's the whole thing came off straight away. I'm not sure how often that happens, but anyway, I got lucky there. I think this piece in here isn't actually part of the bearing per se, it's a spacer, and that is just stays in there. So we're now left with just this piece, which has an inner and outer race and an oil seal. So we'll take it over to the bench now. I think I'll need to clean my hands up too. Right, so here's my MGC hub as used by the Gilbern Invader. It's the same really as an MGB hub, apart from it's got 5 studs on it. Other than that, they're completely interchangeable. So anyway, we need to dismantle this and get the old bearings out, So that's the inner race, and on this side there is a grease seal or oil seal which may need to be hammered. There we go, that's that. I suspect that's as old as the car, something of the order of 50 years, and this is the, that was the outer, this is the inner race. And is there a spacer in the middle? Yes there is. So that's not strictly part of the bearing. So I rebuilt this with nice grease in, not realising that it was nasty in terms of it making a horrible noise. Now, as well as the inner race, we also have the outer race, both sides. Let's see if we can clean that up a bit. Because the rollers in the bearing they run on an outer, both of them have an outer part which they roll onto, but that isn't part of the hub. It's a separate part which you can see the sort of shiny surface in here and in here, and we're going to need to get those out. Now luckily the manufacturers, including MG, have made it possible to get something to knock it out, but you have to knock out the outside from the inside and the inside from the outside, because there's a solid block inside. You can't just push them all the way through. Because I haven't actually done this particular type of bearing before. I'm more used to classic minis. Now I don't know whether you can see, but there's a kind of cutaway. I'm pointing at it now, there and there, where the lip of the outer race is more exposed. I hope you can see that. Torch. So can you see there's a extra cut bit in there, and at that point there is more of the outer race exposed. So I'm going to use something smaller certainly than I was using to begin with. It's almost a screwdriver job. Let's try that one. Oh, I felt it move. Yes, it's moving. So I'm going from side to side, obviously, so that the race doesn't get jammed too much at an angle. Anyway, just as I said that, it dropped out. So this is the outer race this is the outer race of the inner bearing. So it's nearer the centre of the car, but this is the outside part of this roller, which is like this, and I'm turning it up. I can actually feel it's not completely smooth, so I'm not exactly sure which part of this is not. You can't really see anything, or can you actually? No, that's just a mark left in the grease by the rollers. Now you can't see anything, but the proof was the horrible noise it was making. So this is rubbish. And now we need to take the bearing out from the other side, which has a similar cutaway inside further through, which I'm going to tap into there so that it can come out the other side. And it really should be quite easy to do this. It shouldn't be hard work. Slightly fiddly perhaps. So again, I'm going from side to side. And my using a stick extension bar to tap onto the race each side, and each time I do this it moves. So you have to go from side to side, otherwise it will get stuck in an angle, and we don't want that. Does it come out? No, it's still in there. And there it goes. And that is the outer race of the outer bearing. And again, oh yes, can you even hear that? It should really be silent. Again, nothing really visible. No doubt you would be able to see something with some microscope. Actually, having said that, I'm wondering if you can... Oh! No, actually you can see. This car stood somewhere for a very long time and became quite rusty. So I suspect the damage has actually been caused by corrosion. And in fact, yes, you can quite clearly see the marks left by whatever process, which I think is largely to do with rust. So that's probably the main culprit for my noise. There we go. So that is also rubbish. So we've got an outer race and an inner race. Each of those races is made of an inner and outer section, but both of these are rubbish now. And then we also have the oil seal, and we have a spacer that goes inside, as well as the other spacer which is still on the car. So, having done that, I'll give it a quick wipe out. And this is now the naked hub, which has no doubt been machined from a casting, I suppose. Way back in the 70s. So that's my MGC Gilbern Invader, which is a 5-stud version of the MGB hub. I'm just getting everything cleaned up. So, as they say, reassembly is the reverse of disassembly. So, over here, in a nice shiny packet, I have replacements for the aforementioned inner and outer race. So let's see how quickly we can get them put back in again. and start with whether I can open the packet. Dear oh dear. Right. Okay. So that is the outer. This is the inner. And somewhere here is the grease seal and even a split pin, although you didn't supply any grease, which would have kind of been nice, but no matter. Right, so we're going to do, since it's this way up, we're going to do the outer race, the outer of the outer race. We're going to do that. Oh dear, let's say I've got the wrong parts. No? Oh, right. I really thought that the larger of the two bearings was on the outside, but it isn't. It's on the inside. Okay. So I need ideally a large socket. Maybe this one. It's pretty good. I'll go and get to my, oh no, maybe I'll just use it that way. Right. So I'm going to tap it in. I think I'm being slightly hindered by the fact that my bench is a bit springy. That's going in though. Going in, and when it reaches the shoulder inside the step, if you like, inside the hub, it can't go any further, but it must be right up against that step, otherwise you'll never be able to tighten it. And in fact, if you're bashing it like I was, you can actually feel the point at which it comes up against the step. No longer moving. Alright, so that's the outer of the inner race, not the outer race, as I said to start with. And now we're going to do the same thing with the outer of the outer race. Yep. Now I need something roughly the same size as that, which is obviously not this one, unless I use the other end of it. Okay, maybe I can use this then. I'm going to go and get something. There's no doubt some of you have already been shouting that what we need here is a longer central fitting rather than tapping on the edge to help me go straight down. I am hitting it quite hard. I'm not sure whether this is, it looks a pretty good fit actually. that in. That. Slightly more delicate tapping. Yeah, that's in. Right, so we have the inner and the outer races, the outer part of the inner race and the outer part of the outer race, both done. So now that's just going to drop in there, complete with the key washer, not sure what you call them, and I have forgotten to put this in. That's annoying. Oh no, it's okay, get them from this side. Right. Okay, panic over. Right, so that goes in there. And we can put our new grease seal in. But before I do that, I'm going to put some grease in. Let's find some grease then. So this is my fitted outer inner race, which is up against the shoulder, and this is my fitted outer race, which is up flush not only with the shoulder but also with this flange piece in here, where there's a bit of a step showing. So I've got some grease which I shall put on. Now this is left over from a CV joint or something like that. This is graphite grease, I think. Very gungy stuff. So put that in there, and then we can tap in the grease seal. Alright, so the hub is back on the stub axle. I'm just going to put a little bit more of this grease on there for good measure. And then we have this, I'm not sure what you call that, washer with a notch on it, which only goes on in one position, which is there. And then we have our castle nut, or castellated nut, which goes on like that. And I now need my 1.1/8" socket, for which I need the adapter. Right, so I'm going to tighten that up. Keep turning it. It's quite tight, to be honest, but it becomes looser. This makes absolutely sure that there's no play left in the spacers, which might have got all the outer races, which could conceivably have got a few thou play left in them. Now I'm going to back it off slightly. And that goes round nicely. So I'm not going to do the full FT, because I prefer to come back to it and tighten it some more than over tighten it. I should probably recheck, see if there's any play in this after a bit of a test drive. It certainly feels quite nice. But of course, the optimum thing to do, or the objective, is to find the hole in the stub axle where the split pin can go through, which of course I've left over there. No, I haven't left it over there, it's here. Bloody typical. Right, now I'm going to look in the hole in the end of the stub axle, which may or may not be visible. I think there's a bit of it showing there. I think I've actually got to back it off slightly. Right, that's it, I think. I shall just tap that in with a small hammer. That looks to be a little bit too tight. I suppose this is the correct size. So I'll just move it this way. Too much, probably. Right, the hole is now exposed, but it was before, so it's trying to find it easy. Okay, it's a little bit easier now than it was a moment ago. Might get the old adjustable spanner out to it. Alright, a bit of wiggling. Trying to get this thing in here. Right, there it goes. Right, smallest bit of adjustment there. And we'll bend the ends over so that it doesn't come out again. We've got to bend it over enough that we can get the grease cap back on. Should do it. There's the grease cap. I'll put a little bit more grease in there for good measure. Tap this back on. Well, that's not even tapping it. That's it. So the wheel bearing is now replaced. So we just need to get the brake disc and the caliper back on. Oh, by the way, longer studs, did you notice these? These are actually Ford studs. They are metric Ford Escort, which are actually physically larger than the Imperial Ford Escort ones that also exist, and they fit perfectly into the MG hub. It means I've now got metric wheel nuts, but that's no problem, and you need that because of all this stuff that I've got on here. If I can find the, there it goes. If I can find the holes. Yeah, so this is my well, homemade, basically, vented disc setup, which should fairly easily be adapted for, well, MGC obviously, because this is an MGC hub, or MGB. Obviously you need to select a different disc because it's got 5 holes in it rather than 4. But anyway, and the caliper just goes back on. About to take, this is another element of the conversion, which is a different, there it goes, which is a different caliper, which is sliding like modern cars. So normally, when changing brake pads or what have you, you don't need to take the whole caliper off, but for this you do. So I just need to find the holes for bolting it on from the back, where there is an adapter plate which I had machined up. By my friend Alan. Hi Alan, that was a while ago. There it is, I think. First one's always more difficult. Now the second one. There we go, all back together. We just need to put the wheel back on and tidy up, of course. Now this wheel has been observed to be larger than standard, but actually it's not. This is a Gilbern wheel. Which has been reconditioned. And one of the effects of my disc brake conversion is there's a bit of a spacer thing going on as well. So it does stand out into the wheel arch wider than originally, but it is the same wheel. So let's tighten those up then. Right, and hopefully, yes, only brake disc noise. That is so much nicer. It'll be so much less irritating next time I drive it. Let's let it down and tighten it up with a long handle. Is pretty tight already. Okay, that's it. Bearing changed. Irritating droning noises eliminated. If you got as far as this, thanks very much for watching, and in case you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. That would be really encouraging for me. So catch you on the next one.